Hello, hello. How are you doing this evening? I'm so excited to see you. Another wonderful Wednesday, absolutely. And we're going to have another great show tonight. About once a month, I actually speak to you from the heart. Well, tonight is no different. I have a wonderful topic that I want to share with you. Before we get started, we always tell you to tag your friends, text them, and if you have time, give them a call and tell them that the power of transformation broadcast is on with Dr. Paula Obie, and they do not want to miss it. And if I ask you to do it, I'm going to do the same thing. And we'll see you real soon. Hmm. It's February. February normally brings in the conversations about love, right? Do you agree with me? This morning, when I was thinking about my heart to heart, I kept thinking about self love. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit tonight. Some of us have a hard time with it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. When I saw this, I thought, hey, this message really hits home. Let me show it to you. It says, love yourself fiercely. I'm going to say it again. Love yourself fiercely. Oh, yeah, we're going to unpack this a little bit, and we're going to talk about what loving yourself fiercely really means and how to incorporate it into your plan for self-love. Get your beverage. We're going to have a good time with this conversation tonight. I think it's great. Let's get started. So, I want you to take a look at that and tell me, as you were looking at it, did the word fiercely kind of scare you a little bit? We say love yourself, but fiercely? What in the world is Dr. Paula talking about in her heart to heart tonight? What does that mean? I'm going to tell you. To love yourself fiercely simply means to embrace and to accept all of who you are yourself. Your flaws, your imperfections, whatever, whoever, whomever, accept that. That's the fierceness of who you are. We're not going to leave anything out. We're not going to, no. We're not going to love parts of us and then not love other parts. We're going to just embrace all of us. And that's what fiercely really means. Why is it important? Because some of us will love, maybe this little piece and maybe that little piece, and then we'll throw away the other pieces. Well, and tonight we're going to talk about how to love the whole person because we're kicking off the month of February talking about self love. So let's sit back and relax because some people don't really know what self love can do for them, but we can learn it. And the more you practice it, the better you're going to love yourself. I promise you are. I got a couple things I want to read. This was the first one that really stuck out. It says self-love is the self-compassion that you have for yourself. It's something that you can learn. And the more you practice self-compassion, the more prominent these activities will become in your day-to-day. We can love ourselves when things are going well and we're tiptoeing through the tulips. But what about when we are going through a really rough time? At that moment, we might have to push the self-love onto ourselves a lot more. Allow yourself the opportunity to love you. And as I'm even saying the words, I think about the fact that there are some people who seem to love others more effectively than they love themselves. They don't want to admit it, but their actions show it every single day. They'll have a plan for a particular event or to perform this particular task, and somebody pops in and they have another plan and they have another conversation, and you find yourself prone to just navigating to them most of the time. You may be a candidate for someone who needs to practice self-love. I'm not saying being selfish, because there is a difference. I'm saying don't allow your needs and your wants to be at the bottom of the list, and everybody else is at the top of the list. And then you're wondering, why am I depressed? Why I don't feel good? Well, let's stop that. Let's position ourselves for loving us first. God first, us second. So let's focus on us. All right, so here's some helpful tips that I thought was really important, and it touched my heart as we were going along. Self-love could simply be taking a little extra time to sleep in when you're exhausted. So here you are, you've worked a lot, and you've been really toiling and focusing on things, and you're tired. Think about the music we just played. You want to say, wait, I need a nap. Can I turn off my phone? Put it on Do Not Disturb. And just relax, shower, relax, and just take that nap. I call them power naps. It may be it may be an hour, it could be more, but can you imagine a person who needs the nap or who needs to sleep because they're exhausted and they don't take the time? And someone else comes in and asks for something and they're busy jumping. Well, of course, you're not going to be happy with you. You're not taking care of yourself in the way you should. If you're exhausted, go to sleep. If you need some time, tell everybody in your home, I'm getting ready to take a nap, and I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm getting ready to go to bed early. This is you and your body and your self-love technique. This one is a requirement. I think they all are, but this one should be at the top of the list. I like this one too. I love to cook. And you may love to cook as well, but if I'm too tired, there's nothing wrong with takeout. Of course, you want to just schedule it in your budget. However, if you're too tired, that's your treat. Get your favorite takeout, sit back and relax. That is a form of self-love. I know some people are like, oh, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Just give yourself a moment and breathe and get your favorite meal. Those are two that I think are important. But listen to the next one. This one hit me kind of at home. It says it's really important for you to check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I doing today? Do you ask yourself that question? When you wake up in the morning or go throughout your day or your evening, do you stop and ask the question, how am I doing today? How are things going? How am I doing? Are we waiting for someone else to ask the question? How about this? Put this on your list. You ask the question. If it's midday, that's fine. If it's in the evening, that's fine. But how am I? Paula, how are you doing today? Because it may be that you're going to be a lot more honest with yourself when you ask the question. You may not be as forthcoming. Make it a point to say, how you doing today, girl? Even if nobody else does. Even if you've talked to 20 people, hopefully, well, some do, and no one asks, how are you? Take a moment to really be honest and say, how are you doing today? Use my name. How are you doing today, Paula? Guilt-free, no judgment. Guilt-free, no judgment. Another thing that people have said that they love to do is walk. Take the time to walk and listen. That's a form of self-care. Walk, relax at your pace, whether you want to do a fast pace or a slow pace. Do you understand the importance of just slowing it down and allowing the atmosphere to be something that rejuvenates you. You may go to a park and you may just leisurely walk to the park. Envision it. Then you see a bench. Sit down on the bench for a while and you're just relaxing. I'm not saying you don't have a lot of other things to take care of. I'm saying you always will have a lot of other things to take care of, but carve the time for you. The beginning of February, if you're going to love anybody first, please let it be you. Please allow it to be a time where if you're exhausted, you rest. If you don't feel like cooking, you will order out. Somebody might say, well, I do that all the time. Congratulations. Please give yourself a moment to go and take a walk if you so desire. And I'm saying this without anyone else interfering with the process. Make it intentional. Write it down. You can say to yourself, you know what? Today I think I'm going to watch my favorite movie. I love the British genre. I really do. So part of my self-care is taking a moment to watch some of those movies. I just love it. Kind of relaxes me and just allows me to just de-stress for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Why not? You're worth it. And some people have said, they really need these tips and they really need to be reminded because the holidays, they can be stressful. And even though it's been about 30 days or so, the stress for some of us is still lingering. You need to practice this self-love now. Now's the time to get all of your favorites together and practice. So you may have asked yourself, well, why didn't I start in January? I don't know the answer. However, can you start now? In the beginning of February? Don't overlook what you need to do to pull yourself back together again. Because sometimes we just scatter, or sometimes we're totally focused on others. It happens. Our plates can get really full and we'll get a little bit disjointed. But can you imagine getting your favorite candle, your favorite beverage, have that great shower? And you know me, I'm into the facials and the masks, and taking a moment or two to place yourself at the top of the priority list. And for those of you who have others who you're, responsible for, you have to deliberately find the time. You have to, let me just repeat that. You have to deliberately find the time for self-love. Now, does that mean that you feel selfish? Someone might see it as, oh, she's being selfish. She's just taking time for herself. I just had a conversation recently about people who think I might be being selfish. I don't think you need to care about what they think. Your self-love and your ability to pull you back together again is based on the requirement that you want to be as whole as possible. Those people can have an opinion. You have a responsibility. So if you practice self-love, you really won't worry so much about what they're thinking. Practicing self-love is the ability to give you what life sometimes takes out of you on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So many of the questions that people will ask is, how often should I just have these self-love moments? Well, how about daily? Is there anything wrong with listening to a favorite song? No. Is there anything wrong with lighting a candle and relaxing? No. Is there anything wrong with you just decompressing from that day? No. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I believe that you'll be healthier, more healthier, even more healthier than you think. So when we're talking about compassion, which is kind of aligns with self love, research shows that it can have a direct impact on your overall physical health and well being. And we understand that. The more we take out time to recover, the better off we're going to be for the next task. If you're grumpy all the time, maybe you need a little self love. And I will tell you, some folks, and I mean this with all sincerity, they have no idea how to just take care of themselves. They always are thinking of others. They have a list of duties on a daily basis that requires them to constantly think about other people. So I'm talking to you as well. If you have daily requirements, please find some time to adjust your schedule, your task list, those around you. Maybe you can't adjust it every day, but find some time to have a moment alone. Find some time to have a moment to regroup. Physically, you're going to feel better. Mentally, you're going to feel better. Emotionally, you're going to feel better. I think that when we are preparing ourselves to love someone else, my opinion, and we have some form of self care, I think the relationship would be healthier. I'm just thinking about my own scenario sometimes. It's so easy to just focus on others, especially if they're very vocal about what their needs are. It's so easy because you want to feel that love. You want them to say you're the greatest patient in the world. Oh my goodness, it makes you feel so good. You want to say yes. You want to be that person. There's nothing wrong with that. You definitely want to be that person, right? That they love. But don't neglect you. Don't stop loving you. Don't stop caring about you. And if someone forgets to do something for you, well, write it down. Get you a pen and say, okay, well, they forgot it. Let me put it on my list because I have the power to love me. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. It might mean that their mind's on something else, but always keep you on your mind. And the next topic is something that I'm going to take just a little bit more time. Normally my heart to hearts are about 30 minutes, but I want to talk about this because no one likes to discuss it, and that's one-sided relationships. All right, here we go. Knowing when to walk away and let one-sided relationships end is also an act of self-love. I'm reading this from my resource. One that pays dividends in the long run. When you start to surround yourself with people who love and support you for who you are, you will be amazed by how far healthy relationships can carry you. It's tough sometimes to even identify that you are in a one-sided relationship. It's hard. You have to unpack that every day and evaluate, and I'm okay with that. There is a process. However, if you back up just a little bit and place you at the top of the list, then you might find a lot more balance. Many of us have been there where it gets one-sided. The person has more needs, or you think they have more needs, or they like you because you're good at so-and-so, and and you just fall right into the plan. How about let's both love each other, but not neglect you? If you've ever been in a place where you have neglected you, there's a nagging feeling that won't go away until you do something about it. Believe it or not, it's not their responsibility for self-love, for you. That sounds weird because I heard someone say, well, if they give me, I felt like if I gave them everything they needed, then they would give me everything I needed. And some people feel that way. But how about let's start with you giving yourselves what you need first, which is love. will ever stop loving you first. Then those other pieces might fall into place a little easier, might not be as much pressure because you've already identified, I need to love me first. I need to take care of me first. And then I can take care of someone else. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not a psychologist. However, I am going to say this because it's in my research that in the 2023, a study found that higher levels of self compassion were associated with lowering the levels of psychological distress. In other words, you need to learn to love yourself, have compassion for you. According to my research, it can lower your levels of psychological distress. Having self compassion, that means for me, can lower the levels of psychological distress. You may be in an environment where somebody points out everything that you do wrong. You may point out everything that you do wrong. I want you to stop and I want you to think about it. We all have flaws. They have flaws and you have flaws. It's okay for you to point out your flaws. And it's also okay for them to point out their flaws. And then it's okay for you to talk about it in compassion, but not in a way that's going to be destructive. Your mental health is really worth it. Your emotional health is really worth it. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to ask of you. I'm going to ask you just to take a few moments, get a pen, piece of paper, and I'm going to ask you to relax and ask yourself, am I really giving myself the love that I require? Am I giving myself the love that I need? If not, then what am I going to do about it? Write it down on a piece of paper or type it in your phone or whatever. And then make a list of all the ways in which you are willing to show yourself love. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and relationally. I'm not giving you all the order in which it would happen, but you may switch some things around. It may be 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fine. The idea is for you to become holistic. And the holistic version of you will start with your self-care. The holistic version of you will always be better than the part that's not holistic, the scattered version, the broken version. If you need to practice this daily, that's fine. I'm telling you to practice self-love daily. I'm telling you that there's so much going on until you really need a moment. For the physical piece, you need to have a basket full of all of the things that you love to take care of you. Your skin, your hair, your nails, everything, top to bottom. Mentally, what are you reading? What are you hearing? How are you protecting that mental well-being? Ties into the psychological piece. Emotionally, are you healthy there? Oh, wow, we're really getting into the deep end. We may have to come back and talk about some of these. Are you where you want to be emotionally? If not, put it on the list and let's figure out how to get you there. As I said, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. However, I can point you in the direction in which you need. We need to love and practice self-love on a regular basis. I guarantee you'll be better at loving yourself and loving others. And they'll respect you. And the very last thing they'll do is they'll understand your boundaries. I think that's the one thing that self-love gives that we don't often talk about. Your boundaries. You're like, okay, no, I'm accepting this. Not in a mean way, but these are on my list. And if it's not on my list, then let me just think about it a little bit. How long am I going to go with it not being on my list? And there has to be compromises. If you've ever been in relationships, you know there are compromises. However, that list says, these are my goals. These are my standards. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me complete. And more than anything, this is what keeps me healthy. And we all need and deserve to be as healthy as we can possibly be. I've run down the list of what makes us fierce. And that's what the self love is all about. Again, this is February. We're starting to talk about love. We'll have a lot more going on in the future, but I want you to be intentional, really intentional about taking a moment to evaluate your self love practices, to evaluate whether or not you are treating you in the way that you deserve. Because I will tell you, it will be very disheartening for you to have the expectation that someone else is going to treat you the way you deserve if you're not. So let's start today. Let's get out those self help manuals. Let's get the self care basket going. Let's get out our journals. Let's look at our calendar. And let's pull our self care together and make it a primary part of our lives. Just like everything else, we need to start our conversation with how well we're taking care of ourselves. When we love ourselves fiercely, which I just absolutely love that, then what we do is embrace the total person that we are. We'll stop criticizing ourselves every day so much. We'll stop being overly critical. But we'll just embrace and say, you know what? I'm not perfect. I have my flaws. I'm going to love my flaws. I'm going to make some improvements in some areas because that's what it means to love yourself fiercely. All right, we've talked a lot, and there may be some other things that I'll need to come back to in the near future because we're going to have some discussions about love from this point forward. But I don't want you to forget what I've said tonight. I want you to learn to love yourself fiercely and not wait for others to fail at loving you because they can't love you as well as you can. I promise you're going to have to show them how. So you take the first step in this process. So now this power of transformation train has been chugging along and moving along, and it's kind of chilly, so it's been wrapped up a little bit, and it's ready for itself for me to turn it around and for us to bring it back into the station. Our program, as I say, every week is based upon an excerpt from Romans 12:2. It says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So as you are loving God first, then you can learn to love yourself and provide your self-love. And it's going to transform you from one place in your life to the other. I'm a witness. It works. So now I'm pumping the brakes, pump, 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 pump. And we're back in the station. So thank you for joining us tonight. I want you definitely to like and share with your friends. I want you to start this year where you are raising the level of self-love so that you love yourself fiercely. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I love you. Bye.